So before we actually create our landscape, I need you to activate two plugins that are going to be very useful for us. So if you go here to edit mode here in the top corner of the screen and you go to plugins, then you can just type here the plugins that you want. There are a couple of them that are really important with landscapes. And the first one is called Landmass. If you click here, you will see that you have Landmass. I already have it enabled. So if you don't, click on it and you need to restart the editor after. Okay. So the second one we're going to use is water. We can just go for here for water. This is just the name water. No water extras, not water advanced, just water. We can just put it here. And because it's going to be really useful for us as well. So with that, we're going to restart the editor. I don't have to do it because I already have it. So how do you create your landscape? It's going to be very easy. In the top corner, you will see that you have a selection mode. And here you can decide which selection mode you want. You will see that landscape has a selection mode. You can also toggle between all these with Shift 2, Shift 1, Shift 3, and so on. So if we go to landscape, you will see that we get a preview of what will be our landscape, what's going to be the size, and what are going to be the components. So enable edit layers, you're going to click here because we're going to have layers kind of like Photoshop where you can just add and delete some changes that you may not need. And so this is going to be very useful. World partition grid size, it's going to be the world partition, let's just say every single grid for the world partition. Let's just say if this is 2, then world partition grid size is going to be this big. So it's going to have 1. So we have 4 components. Actually 8 components. So for every 2 components that we have, we're going to have a world partition. So what happens is where the player is here, depending on the distance of the player. So for example, this area, it's going to be loaded. Anything outside is going to be unloaded to save some memory. And it's going to be in chunks of 2 by 2. So if you want like a smaller section to be unloaded instead of a big one, you will need to change this one to 1. So for now, don't worry about this. 2 is perfectly fine. It works very well. Material, we're going to create our material later, but if you had one, you can just put it right away before you create your landscape. Then the default values of the transform, the location, rotation, and the scale, we're going to leave it at the default here. And the section size is going to be really important. So basically, the more quads you have, the bigger your landscape is. So you can go by 31 by 31, 63 by 63, 255 by 255. And also there are some variations here where you can just put 2 sections for each component, which will make it bigger. And you can see the number of components here. You can actually change for any kind of number that you like, that you want. So don't worry too much about this. I will share with you some landscape recommended sizes that Unreal recommends in the documentation, where you can just see like what do they recommend in terms of performance and to optimize the size and the performance of your landscape. You don't necessarily need to follow this. It's not like your project is over if you don't follow these settings. It's just a recommendation, and obviously with world partition, you will be able to unload unnecessary sections that you don't need. All right. Also, you also can add and delete sections along the way, so it's not really a big deal. So with that said, let's just hit create, and that will give us our landscape, which is basically a plane here. And by the way, I'm using the middle mouse scroll wheel to basically change the speed of my camera. You can see that I'm moving like very, very slow here because I use the scroll wheel. And you can see here in this section that I'm actually changing the speed. and I can put the scroll wheel up and down. It's going to be very useful for you when you go to other sections of your landscape very fast. You can also click here and change the speed, you know, but for me, it's easier to use the middle mouse click while I'm holding the right mouse click. You need to hold the right mouse click and use the middle mouse click to change the speed, otherwise it won't work. But with that said, we have a lot to cover here. We have a lot of sculpt mode, the manage mode, the paint mode, and with that, go ahead and create your landscape, and I will see you in the next section.